Every person has a story, but not everyone has a place to tell it. I'm Frank Swoboda. I've interviewed amazing people all over the planet. I want you to meet them. This week, the most interesting person you've never heard of is...
Hi, I'm Sean Finley, and I'm the most interesting person you've never heard of because I spent the last 3 years making a 15-minute movie.
Okay, Sean Finley, thanks for being on the most interesting person you've never heard of podcast. So you kind of reached out to me.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. Like, that was the greatest accomplishment that we've had on this podcast, that someone actually wanted to be on it.
Right.
Or, which I was just honored by.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, selfishly.
Shocked.
I'm sort of having to do all my own self-promotion because that's, the budget is
I'll be your Johnny Carson.
Okay, cool.
If you even know who that is. I don't
sure.
know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're the last person.
I caught the tail end of that, yeah.
David Letterman? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll be your David Letterman. Because you have a film.
Yeah.
That you've created. That I just watched and is cool.
Cool.
Tell me about this.
Yeah, so the film is titled We Live in Water, and it's based on a short story that Jess Walter wrote. It's part of a collection of short stories by the same name that got published almost exactly 10 years ago, actually. And I had kind of read the collection a long time ago and had just, reached out to him via email to be like, hey, do you ever let anybody adapt any of these stories? Just, kind of a, Hail Mary sort of
thing. Give it a shot.
And it's, he took me a while to get back to me because apparently he's a pretty busy guy.
Whatever. Why in the heck would he be busy?
I know, right? He's not got anything going on.
Just America's best novelist.
Yes.
Kind of, really. Yeah.
But eventually he got back to me and he was like, well, if there's one that you really, latch on to, we can kind of talk about it, very non-committal. And so I was like, okay. And so then eventually I was like, well, I really like this one. I like the title, short story, and here's why. And I kind of wrote this kind of long rambling thing. And I was like, how about if I just do like a treatment on this, write it up and then I'll send it your way. And if you like it, we can do it, but if not, no worries,
Good exercise in your part anyway.
Yeah. Because I was like, I just want to, do this for practice even,
Right.
So I wrote the whole, script treatment and sent it to him, and he wrote back like almost immediately and was like, this is great. Yeah, you should definitely do this.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So, and that was like, I don't know, mid 2020 maybe when I got that response back, and I was like, okay, I guess, now I got to do it.
Right.
So I just started like calling everybody I knew, and at that point, we were still very much in lockdown, and so
yes, this was COVID.
Totally,
Central.
Everything was raging at that point, and but everybody I knew was kind of in the same boat in terms of like everybody was just starved to do anything creative because there weren't any concerts, no events going on,
right.
So everybody was just like, yes, please, like I'll do anything. So that was kind of fortuitous that. I just, called in every favor I could think of, and Jade Warpenberg, who's a fantastic cinematographer, I thought of him right away and reached out, and he was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it, and called some people that I'd worked with before in terms of acting roles and other, crew and producer roles, and eventually, we kind of wrangled everybody's schedules and kind of came up with a production timeline and all that, and the only thing that was kind of a big bummer was like I had this location in mind that was over in Idaho, and at that point it was like
can't get over there.
No, can't get over there, and it
was like a different country.
Oh, the risk factor was like so high.
Isn't that crazy to think about now?
Oh, yeah.
I know, it doesn't even seem real anymore. Yeah, I mean it could come back, but still.
Yeah, so we kind of had to scrap that one.
What was the location that you were so loving?
The Snake Pit.
Oh
yeah, which looks
fantastic.
200 years old or whatever.
Yeah, so you would have had that instead of Hogwash.
Bingo.
Okay.
Yeah. So Hogwash was like our backup.
Yeah.
And it worked out great.
No, it's great. Yeah. But it's missing an exterior.
Yes, exactly.
Which that would have been. You still could have probably shot the exterior of that and faked it. No one would. I mean, people would know.
Right.
Come on.
Right. Yep. So
what did Jess think?
So I sent him, the rough cut maybe, I don't know, a month or so ago. And
so this is recently finished.
Oh, yeah. I wrapped it up real recently.
Okay. So that took a while just because of COVID and stuff, right? You started shooting in 2020, and I mean, it's just how this goes. You have a day job. This is not your full. This is not your full-time gig. We'll get into that, but I get it.
It was like evenings and weekends, and whenever I could squeeze it in, and I mean, when you're working with that many people who are working for free, the scheduling becomes that much more complex, and everybody's got families and kids and everything else. So
you're at their whim.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that was the main holdup. Was getting through all those roadblocks. We ended up shooting over at my uncle's lake place over on Lake Coeur d'Alene, and we shot at Hogwash and a couple other locations. I'm trying to remember. Oh, we shot out at Shutterworks, the rental house. Shot some stuff out there. And
Michael? I know Michael. Yeah.
And where else? I don't know. A handful of other things. I ended up actually driving out by myself to the Palouse to get a couple shots of the car that we needed that I forgot about.
Oh, yeah.
So we got a couple pickup shots out there, but it was a slog in some ways to get it all wrapped up. And then there was a few like really effects heavy shots that we ended up having to spend a lot of time on kind of at the end. So
gotcha.
That was cool.
So what made you want to do this? Let's talk about your background. So you grew up here in Spokane.
Yeah.
And like me, went to Gonzaga Prep just way later than me. Well, I guess it's not that bad. 10 years, 11 years.
The grand scheme of things.
Yeah, the grand scheme of things. It's sounding better every day. What's 11 years?
Yeah.
But you're a designer, really. That's how I've known you.
Yeah. So
that's your trail, right?
Right. I went to school for graphic design.
Graphic design. I was say designer. That should be more clear.
I graduated from the Falls graphic design program in 2006.
Which is a great program that you're still involved in.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. But it is. It's always, I mean, some of the most amazing people have come out of there that really are the sort of the titans of this design advertising world here in this community. Come out that program, really.
Yeah, and that program is so like tied into the industry, and that was like one of the things that like appealed to me about it when I was a student was like, oh yeah, like you get like so many connections out of that, not just from like events, but like obviously internships and all the other sort of ad fed, stuff.
Yeah, advertising. Yep, federation. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and back in the day, the video department that was really good. The broadcast department. My brother came out of that.
Yeah,
and it was just like has done amazing things from that program. I don't know but today if it's what it's like, but it traditionally was always really good.
Yeah. I think they've definitely kind of had a renaissance in the program there in terms of the video stuff as well, where they've sort of it used to be primarily like photography focused, and now I think they're kind of
well, you can't
50-50
not. I mean, it's
split.
just so everywhere.
Yeah.
So what do you hope happens with this? So where can people find it? And I mean, I'll ask that at the end too. But, but like, where is this? Where do you go that route? Because I've been down that road, not really done a project quite like that, where it was just like just for the joy of it, that wasn't a paying gig on the side that I do. But I've wanted to. I'm like, I've got a few pet projects that I would want to do, and I keep finding myself going, I do that every day. The last thing I want to do is to do that unless I just committed to one project and did it. And I've been doing this Housing and Help homeless series this last year, which is sort of like that. I mean, it is a part of our company, but it's become more of like a pet project almost because I love it so much. And I want to, owe it to everybody to do the best you can do on something like that. It's much more like a movie than it is anything I've done. So what do you hope happens, and where are people going to see it, and what's the dream there?
So I got involved early on in the lockdown with this really amazing website that's called Seed and Spark. And Seed and Spark is a really cool organization. They're a national level organization where kind of their whole mission statement is around getting filmmakers to just get their stuff out there. And there's a lot of sort of like tutorials and video clinics that they do where they'll do like a live session and kind of talk about like, what's your goal? Like, you've got like this story that you're really passionate about, and maybe you've got like some friends who know how to do stuff, but like, what do you want to have happen after you finish whatever project it is you're working on?
Wow, cool.
And yeah, and it's like this really refreshing take on like, not everybody is obviously gonna make money off their project.
Right.
So if you're not gonna make money off of it, what do you want to have happen?
Right.
And in my case, I was like, I just want people to see it. I just want to like get it out there, get as many people to watch it as possible, and just get exposure out of it, whatever that means. So that's kind of my goal with this thing, is like, I just want to get it into as many like festivals as I can, and, you know, let people watch it online, and whatever else will just kind of get it out there in the world.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. You know, 'cause Jess and I go way back too. He was my neighbor for 8 years.
Oh, nice.
Actually, 2 different houses. We lived next to each other for like 4 or something.
Yeah.
And then they moved. Like, well, we're moving, but there's a house next door for sale, and so we moved literally there. And so our kids grew up together when they were little kids and stuff,
Nice.
and sort of saw his, you know, early taking off when we were working on the Spokes when we first met him, and then just seeing everything that he's done. He's just remarkable, and there's amazing people in this region. I've talked about that a lot on this podcast. Like, I think there's something in the water here in terms of just, you know, the sensibility of we're not in the we're not in the Midwest, but we understand what real people think about. Unlike LA or New York, where they're just completely out of touch with what it's like to live in just a normal place. But we get LA and Seattle, and we're comfortable there, and it's not, you know, not a leap, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's no big deal to go do that, to work there, to be in that world. So I think there is something about just the talent level that's come out of here, of which Jess is right at the top. So of just what's there. So I love that you made this local. When we did the basket 20 years ago, that movie, it was, I mean, we had 30 people that were local, that were in the cast, and then everybody on the crew was local, and it was really, that's super satisfying. I mean, it's the only movie that I think that's happened that way, at that scale, that has had just that many people that were all, and it became much more than just like this thing we were doing, but you were sort of like, hey, we're representing here, you know. And I think it's really cool that you had, I was saying, you know, Tim Lanigan, I've known a super long time. He did great in that. I was really proud of him. I hadn't really thought of him as an actor, and I didn't know if you had that kind of background, you know, in terms of him. Kristen Black, who I thought was great too. You know, she took my wedding photos, and I've known her forever, and she was in the Terrible Buttons, and Tyler used to work here, was in the Terrible Buttons for years. And so, I mean, it was just really cool. This like, when I watched it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm the right person to watch this, because I know those guys, you know what I mean? It makes it harder. If I didn't know who they were, I probably would, you know. But when you look at that, what do you think of it? How did you think you did? Because that's the other experience of making the basket, you know, was 25 days. I mean, it was a big boy movie, kind of, you know, and there was a lot on the line, but at the end of the day, you have to watch your movie, and that's a really interesting experience, right? And then you've got to make it better as best you can. And so what do you think of it?
You know, it's interesting. I think with every project, you kind of go through those waves of like, oh, this is amazing, this is shit, this is the best thing ever. You know what I mean? Like, you go through that, like, the kind of pattern of ups and downs. And I definitely, I definitely learned a ton just doing it, which is exactly kind of what I wanted to get out of it. Was like, you know, every time you make something, you kind of get better, and you like, learn new skills, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to change that next time. You know, you put stuff in that column. And I think that, it's not perfect, but like, I love the experience, and I love what we got out of it, and I think it's an accurate representation of the story, which is what we were setting out to do. Right.
You don't. The last thing you want to do is, you know, not, you know, mess up Jess's thing, or not honor that, or whatever. Not that he's expecting you to make, you know, the greatest thing ever. No one would, right? I mean, just one of the first things you've ever done, honestly. So, and I mean, that's really cool.
The thing that really
you took on something here. It wasn't just like, you know.
The thing that really appealed to me when I first read the story was like, the story is this super accurate microcosm of, I mean, not just like rural America in like the 50s and 90s, but like very specific to Idaho. And it's got all these elements of like struggle and family dynamics and toxic masculinity and like all of these things that are just wrapped up in a ball. And I was like, it's
choices.
It's all about choices,
man.
Good choices, bad choices, fate, all that stuff.
Yep.
And so I was like, it's so condensed like perfectly into like you totally have known these kind of people before. You know, maybe they're your neighbors, whatever.
Right. And he paints amazing people.
Oh yeah, his characters are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what really stood out to me when I was first trying to decide.
Was that a challenge? How do I paint the character that this amazing, Rembrandt paints on the page?
Yeah.
That's, and obviously the actor's got a lot of pressure on that too. But I mean, right? You must have felt some obligation to that.
Yeah, and we did do like a ton of prep work where we sat down and did like a read through and talked a lot about like, what do you think this character is like? What do you think their back history is like? You know, we had to kind of like make up that part.
Was that just you and the actors making that up?
Yeah.
Or was that any conversation with Jess about that?
No, I did ask him a couple questions early on, like why did you choose this car, or why did you pick this attribute for the character? And he was like, I don't want to get into that. He was like, just go
do
whatever.
Good, good for him. No, really, because it just that does not make it yours. Or whatever. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, and it's a period piece, right? Because you're back to the 50s or late 40s or something. It felt like just
it was like in the story he listed as I think like 1953 and then 93.
Okay. Yeah.
So like 40-year gap.
Right.
And,
right.
I do think it's interesting that there are so many like parallels to the sort of climate of America between those two generations in terms of like. A lot had changed, but a lot was the same in some ways. And
a lot hadn't changed, honestly.
Yeah.
And a lot's changed almost more now in the time between 93 and 2003, 23. I mean, 23 than it was.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure.
Because, a lot of that wasn't that bad. So anything you'd choose differently? What's the stuff you were like, God, I wish I...
Well,
because I had that experience when we watched the basket for the first time at the Seattle Film Festival, packed crowd, standing ovation.
Nice.
Which was like, they're not throwing tomatoes. I'm shocked. And I probably have said this before on this podcast, but my wife at the time, Tessa, wrote it with me and two others, Rich and Dawn, and we were just like, I can't. I mean, I've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
You watch this thing a million times. Yeah. Right? And it was the scariest thing ever. She's just squeezing my hand during all the parts that were just the parts we hate. That are just that is not good stuff. And you're just convinced it's horrible. And it's like, it's about 60% of what I wanted to do. Kind of feeling. And then you get done and. It's an incredible experience to watch your film with a crowd, so I hope you get that opportunity.
Totally.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And at least when they liked it anyway.
Yeah.
And she said the best line I've ever heard in my life. She said, "That's the closest thing you'll ever know. You'll ever know what it's like to giving birth."
Oh wow. Yeah.
It's the closest experience to giving birth that she had and that I'll ever get to experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I have a lot more respect for you now than then, because it's like giving birth, and then you instantly want to do it again.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do that again. And I haven't, I do it every day kind of, but it was just like, wow, this is really an amazing kind of intoxicating thing and so hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard because you want to do it right. So what are there parts where you're like, I can't go back and change that, unfortunately, or whatever.
Yeah, there's a couple moments where I was like, should have got that from a different angle, or should have shot that differently, or should have got a extra pickup shot, or if I just had a little bit more B-roll to fill in that section.
Which is why the old way of filming this is always medium, wide, tight, and then you choose it later, you figure it out later.
Yeah,
but there's a reason for that.
Yep.
And I just see it different. I just see that kind of not. Showing up, and maybe it's just nobody's told anybody. But that's I don't know. Somebody told me that a long time ago, and I'm like, that makes sense. Sure as hell a lot easier when I'm shooting something wide, and then I can cut medium tight. And now today, like we were just talking about before this, we've got a project. We have cameras now that shoot 12K, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
How much sort of resolution you have.
Yeah.
So we just shoot everything wide.
Yeah.
But you got to push in.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just forget to push in. So, but it gives you that latitude now that you don't have to kind of prep and prepare that way. And I don't know if it's better. Yeah. Maybe, but I just wondered about that. If there's anything that you've learned from that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's definitely like on my list in terms of like, if we had had the time, I would have totally done more setups, right?
Yeah, because nobody how much time did you have? If you had to break it into days, let's say most movies are like if you shoot a 10-hour day, you're kicking ass, right?
Yeah.
And I would say on the basket, for the most part, we did. I mean, we were pretty. We had 2 years of prep, and we really knew where we were going, and it worked out. It was sort of charmed in a lot of ways, weather and stuff. But if you had to say, okay, 10-hour days, how many did it take to shoot this thing? Could you even guess?
I'm trying to add it up in my head here. I know with for Hogwash, for instance, we shot both eras, all of the scenes in 6 hours.
At once.
Yeah.
Great.
And it was just
good for you.
Yeah, it was great, and it was bonkers.
Oh, it's bonkers.
Yeah, but there's stuff I wish I would have grabbed in there.
Right.
And then we did maybe a 8 to 10 hour day out at the lake cabin on Lake Coeur d'Alene, and that was definitely packed as well.
Yeah.
Trying to get all those shots.
Yeah. So you might have shot this in under 10 days.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, that's not crazy. Yeah. I remember when in the basket we have all these this big basketball game at the end of the movie, and we literally shot that in 2 days, which is nuts when you think about crowd and all that stuff.
Sure.
But we got done and we didn't have enough shots, and I was like, I do not have enough shots. We do not have enough shots, and I'm second unit director of that, so I'm not the director of this movie, but I'm I gotta get these because you got no show. There's literally no movie, and was just producer sends everybody home. And it's where's all the extras? What are you doing? This is not done, But budget, whatever. There's decisions get made, and so I'm all right. Can I keep the players? Can you give me 2? So my brother and I literally shot for 2 hours. Wow. Jess was actually in that movie.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, he's in, and I think we shot for 2 hours with just the players.
Yeah.
And ended up using every shot.
Sure.
And it was 20 shots, something like that. Just different angles, close up the ball, all the stuff that we just, I gotta have this stuff because I literally don't have a movie without it. And yeah, every shot got in there. So and I always tell people we're running a little late. And that's the thing you get better at too, is the more you do this, the more you're man, now every shoot almost, kind of ends up right on time, magically. We're, we are 1 minute, we just shot a big, really cool commercial with Anton Watson from Gonzaga basketball player, and he spins a basketball and he's everywhere he goes, he walks around with a ball spinning. It's really cool. So the effects part you would love. Just how are we going to make a ball spin the whole time? And we had from 5:30. We got Anton showed up at 5:30, and he had to be out of there at 8:30. So we had 3 hours to shoot everything with Anton. Maybe it was 4. Probably about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. But the agent. Time, he's a busy dude, right? It's like working with a movie star, and that's the kind of thing. We end up finishing exactly at 8:30, right on time when we were supposed to, and we kind of knew what we were getting and knew how to do it and done it long enough. My brother shot it with me. He and I have done a million things, so it's just kind of that internal clock is easily there. But you get everything that you can in the time that you're there because we had one more shot, and I'm we can get this shot in 5 minutes because, we have to get this shot. We're going to get this shot and okay, well, we want to be done. And we got it in 5 minutes. But it's if we don't do this now, you can't come back.
Yeah.
And you could go back to Hogwash. You could reshoot some stuff. You could.
Yeah.
You have the gift of that location being there.
Sure.
And maybe we could.
Yeah.
But the chance of ever getting Anton again, there's just no way.
Right.
So that's, if there's pressure, which I don't feel anymore because I'm just numb or something or too old. But you just don't feel that anymore because I just know I'm going to get it. We're going to get this thing. It's exactly how we got to get it. But man, we had, Wrangling. 40 people there. It was nuts. It was just a crazy thing. So that's something that you'll probably, I would guess, get better at, right? As you figure out how to manage that time on stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're producing and directing.
Oh, yeah.
You did it all, right?
All the things, yeah. My wife, Vanessa, helped out a ton with some of the producing
So she helped
stuff.
you produce it,
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
She was great. But the one piece of advice that I always liked was when it came to B-roll, it's if you think you have enough B-roll, get 10 more shots.
Yeah,
because you'll never have too much B-roll.
You will never have enough.
And when you're doing takes, always wait. If you think it's time to cut, wait 10 seconds.
Yeah, give some tails to it. Yeah. And do you? I mean, back in the day, so when we would do, film, when we had to shoot on film, it wasn't, the basketball shot on film. It wasn't. So you have to be like, I guess I learned that way because you can roll forever now. I mean, cards and batteries, but whatever. Right. But you're out of film, Yeah. Like, it's over. So you have to really you better know you've got it. Yeah. Like Marlon Brando used to test his directors like the first day, and he would, give them a really shitty delivery, performance and then a really good one. And if the director didn't pick the right one, he was impossible to him the entire shoot. Oh, that's funny. Because like you should know that, did you know you had the right one? So that you ever go back and look at that and go like, I knew in the moment that was the right one, and it is damned if it wasn't the one we used. Or do you not know that until later? I don't know. I feel like, especially because we were working with like non-professional actors, it was kind of a mixed bag. Yeah, where it was like sometimes we would nail it the first time, and then sometimes it would be like 14 takes later. Yeah. No, it's like that with a great actor. Sure. So don't think that's the just because they're a great actor doesn't mean they get it right the first take. I mean, like Brando. Speaking of him, he would like he didn't know he couldn't remember his lines, so he would like look off because he's got sticky notes everywhere with the lines, Right. I mean, and he's one of the greatest actors ever. So you just you don't know how it's going to be. Yeah. Who's a great actor or not. Yeah. Anything that you are most proud of when you watch it? You're like, that's the moment that I'm like. Because I thought there were a few really cool moments in there. There's moments in there where when I wrote it, I didn't think it would be funny, and then it came off with like the perfect amount of humor, and I was like, yes, like those are like magic. Yeah, right. Or like somebody changed the line just slightly, or the pause was just right, or any of that stuff. Yeah, it's like a couple of those. The last shot is beautiful. Yeah. Where'd you get that? I don't want to give it away. I got to watch the movie. So now hopefully you go watch. I don't think I want to give it away either, actually. Oh, well, okay, then don't tell me. Yeah. But you shot that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Was that here in the region? Or was it was over on the coast. Okay. Yeah. That was a. No, you don't have to. It was a vacation shot. You don't have to give it away. Yeah. Okay. It's just a really stunning shot. Yeah. Did you shoot that? Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Good for you. What'd you shoot this thing on? So the main camera we were using was the Blackmagic Ursa Mini, but a couple of the like studio shots, I think we used the Sony FX7. Okay, yeah. FS7. Yep. And then a few of the pickup shots were on the like original Blackmagic pocket camera. Okay, yeah. Which is really interesting camera because it's got a small enough sensor and like a global shutter on it, so you get the effect of like an old 16 millimeter camera, which is really cool. Yeah, it's got all especially for that old stuff, right? Oh, that flashback stuff. So I used that for a couple of the pickup shots, on like the car. Yeah, where'd you get the car? Okay, maybe you can't tell me that either. Yeah. No, that's actually Tim's brother who lives down in Moscow. Oh, no way. That was his car. Yeah, wow. I think it's like their dad or grandpa's car that they've had the whole time. It's a character in the show, right? Yeah. It really is. Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah. When you have that sets it. That's because the hard thing was like I needed a car that was that era, but it couldn't be all pristine. Right. Which is hard to find. It is like well, that guy wouldn't have a car like that. Right. Yeah. Right. You're no kidding. They're all like perfect. Totally. I mean, why are you gonna get who would keep a car from the 50s if it's not restored? Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, that is the stuff like that that's hard to hard to think about. Yeah, and that was like one of the things at the end. I was like, why did I pick something historical? I made it like twice as hard. Yeah, but I have to say, we had that thought a lot because our whole thing was set in 1914 or whatever, and I'm so glad that decision got made because it still feels, I mean, I watched it 20 years later and I'm like, it still feels new because they don't age, a period piece doesn't really age. Sure. So there's something about that I think you're gonna like, and even the '90s stuff will actually get cooler. Sure, sure. With just the locations and stuff, and I mean that's a little harder. '90s are not that far removed. I mean it almost feels current day. Yeah, because Kristen's so cool anyway. That's part of the problem. She's not gonna ever look too '90s. Sure. Yeah. We had some discussions about that. She's like, what is this character? What is her deal? And I'm like, well, she's like,
a lesbian, so you got that going for you. And she's just, she's been living in the woods for too long.
Right.
That's her deal.
Right.
She's
No,
like,
it didn't look today, for sure.
Totally.
So, but you're not going to, nobody's going to know.
No,
2000.
She had a few extra piercings.
Right.
But, that was a thing in the 90s too. So,
Right.
Right.
Well, that's cool. Do you want to do another one? Where are you now? Or are you still gonna take this to some festivals and stuff? I just think it's cool to see where you're at in this.
Yeah. I entered it in a bunch of festivals on the Film Freeway website. Some of them are really long shots, so
you never know.
Yeah.
But it's in that short film category, right?
Yeah.
So that is like what? What's the length of those? Because there's always sort of parameters around that. 15 minutes or something like 10 to 20 or something.
Yeah, I think 20 is usually the cutoff.
I think
that kind of varies from festival to festival from what they'll accept, but definitely the max is like 30. I think is the cutoff.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So on the other your day job.
Yeah.
You work at Spokane Falls, right? And so you were at Distillery, you were at Boom, you've been a lot of places in the advertising world, right? Yeah. And so tell me about the path that got you there.
Yeah, so...
And you're still doing design work, or? Mostly teaching, and that gives you a little more latitude to make films.
I mean, this is literally like my second quarter teaching.
It's just, 6 months or so, right?
Yeah. Wow. So I feel like I'm still, trying to get my feet under me. But I really am glad that I made this switch.
Because that's a leap. I always like talking to people who make leaps.
Yeah.
That's a leap. Not only the film.
Yeah.
But it's a career leap.
Yeah, for sure. But I'd been in the advertising industry for 16 years. So it just felt like the right time to do something else. And I have always kind of wanted to do teaching, and this just came up at the right time. And I kind of sort of jumped into it with both feet, and I'm just really glad I did, because teaching is very, very fulfilling for me.
How do you teach design? Maybe you don't know yet.
Yeah.
Because right, it isn't arithmetic.
Yeah.
There's, you know what I mean?
I don't think that you can teach how to be a good designer. I think you can teach people all the technical skills, and you can sort of give them hints about how you come up with ideas and process stuff and all of that. But at a certain point, you kind of got to be okay, you figure it out on your own, you do your own thing, and you kind of go off and ruminate about that a little bit. Because I think everybody's got obviously personal taste stuff, and all the other things that sort of are tied up in who you are as a person. So I think that our job is not to be this is good design, do this. I think our job is to be here's how you operate the computer, here's all the techniques we've ever used, and they kind of have to do about half of the work, compared to the teacher.
So I've been asked to judge a couple of design. I've done 3. I've judged 3 Addy Awards, so you know what that is. You're obviously, we just were here. We had a party for the AdFed, but I've judged them around the country, and it's always interesting because the majority of the entries, and we talk about this is really the National Advertising Federation, and which Spokane has a chapter, and most cities do. And you get asked to come in, and I get flown into, Sioux Falls and Sacramento, and you're there for a weekend, or at least a day or two, with 2 other judges, and sometimes it's more. I've rather designed ones that were not Addies, but I always feel a little the majority of the awards are design award, graphic design. Right?
Yeah.
Stuff. And then you get the video once in a while. You get a small video category, you'll get other, which has grown. It's actually gotten much bigger in the time that I've done this. But I've always felt and I've never lacked any confidence in that, but I'm am I the right guy to judge this stuff? Am I just screwing up a career here?
Sure.
And we just did one that the Falls was a part of it. I think Eastern was that Lawton Printing, Laura Lawton puts on. And I'm going to do it this. They asked me back. I'm are you sure I should be the one that's doing it? These are design students. They're no, we need an outside perspective. We don't want it to just be all, because graphic designers can just geek out in graphic design, and you're not really talking to, dumb dude like me representing kind of the people that don't know anything. So I understand the help there. But what do you look for and help me, Sean? Help me not screw these people's careers up. I feel such pressure.
Yeah, I think
I can do the video stuff all day. Man.
I think that there's a tendency, especially with folks that are just entrenched in that like design world, to kind of really nitpick, all the minutiae of design stuff, right?
You've seen it, you've judged these,
Yeah, where it's like, the kerning's off a little bit there, or like this thing should have been 2 centimeters to that direction or whatever, But honestly, like I think one of the marks of like really good design is just if you look at something and it not only does it look good, but it just functions well. You know what I mean? Like there is that part of it where I always try to like tell design students, like if this thing at a glance, you can tell what it is and it all makes sense and it's very readable.
It needs to feel
it needs to feel like it's serving the purpose.
Okay,
and
good.
And there also needs to be like layers of accessibility. Like if you want to read this whole poster, you'll get more out of it, but you don't have to read the whole poster to get the essence of it in a second.
That's right. So, both have to happen.
Totally. Yeah. So
okay, that's good.
Always having that in mind.
There should be layers.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you've got a intricate piece. It can be really simple with tons of space and still have that.
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting in terms of like that could go for a website, that could go for a video. I think like the thing with video that's interesting is it's not like you look at a video for 1 second and everything's revealed like it is with like a pamphlet or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's that third element of time that gets thrown in. And so
we've had lots of clients who want that. It's like put the logo right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, sometimes. I mean, I get that whole that whole thing. Like, it's a pre-roll ad on YouTube, so we need to know who this is from before I'm like,
sure.
Do you? I mean, like, am I really gonna? I mean, if it's gonna affect me, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, we do tons of campaigns and we run campaigns now, so we manage all that and we get to see the analytics, which are super helpful on. And one of the biggest ones that I always look for: how long did people watch it? Did they watch 3 seconds and are out, or do they watch 15 and do they watch the whole? What's the percentage of people who watch the entire thing? And it's that is the most satisfying thing for us. It's like, holy crap, hundreds of thousands of people watch the entire 30 seconds. I mean, that's just to me, that's like nobody else geeks out on that, but that's what I care about. Like, did they watch the whole thing? That means that they really watched it. And that's the ultimate goal, I think, for in this world that we live in on the video side. Can people really watch it? Or are they just clicking through?
Right.
Which I do, and people do all the time. But if you can really like capture somebody, then those numbers don't lie. So that's and on the one of the things I told. Because I don't really think of myself necessarily as a video guy, but more as a storyteller in that medium. And I think that's what designers have to do too. And so the last time I had, the kids from the Falls, mostly, I think there were some Eastern students there too. But it was, hey, I'm looking at this, like, does this tell me a story?
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's, really badly laid out, I'll even know.
Right. Yeah.
But mostly, was there a reason that you wasted my time? Don't waste my time.
Sure.
And I looked at it like that for almost all of them that I went through, and I found that wasn't what the other judges were looking at. Probably because they're designers, and I'm not. I don't know if you find that that's something that you guys talk about.
No, I mean, I really try to, like, especially with new designers.
You're figuring out the craft. You're trying to learn the craft, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, everybody, whether or not they've had experience making design, has seen design out in the world, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you already have that, like, sixth sense.
We're all experts.
Yeah.
Everybody's an expert at what you do and what I do.
Exactly.
Right? They are.
Yeah.
They're just.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, that's we're building something with a budget that's not great. I'm like, dude, you're still running, next to, a Mercedes ad.
Yes. Yep.
in the place.
Yep.
Like, your stuff's still getting judged all the time.
Yeah.
Against the greatest work in the world.
Yeah.
And so you might as well make something great, or if you can.
Yeah, the other thing I always tell like new designers is like, when you get out there in the world, like the expectations are never going to be anything but sky high. Like every client is going to want the best thing ever, no matter how big or small the budget is. They're always going to want the best thing ever. So your job is to try and figure out, how do you accommodate that?
Right.
How do you make them feel like they got what they paid for in a way that isn't going to waste your time or theirs?
Well, and the old, good, fast, cheap, pick two.
Yes.
I mean, really, that's kind of how it is, because most people don't have the luxury of all that stuff. Sometimes the better we get, the more I get, maybe 3 sometimes. Yeah. But you don't, it doesn't have to be just because it's, the budget is bigger or smaller doesn't mean you can't make something great. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's really probably true. The better you get at that, it's the old Picasso line. It's like, paints the painting for the lady, and she's like, he goes, that's 1,000 lira or whatever, and or pay, whatever, francs, yeah. And she's like, it only took you 10 minutes. And he goes, no, it took me a lifetime. Yes. Because I can do that in 10 minutes because I've been doing this craft, and I think that's what you've done. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Years and years of just getting better at it. So can you, when you see a student now, can you know right away? And this will be interesting for you to ask you when you come back someday. Because you've just sort of started with this first crop of students, but you probably have initially a weekend that's really a talented kid, right? And they're going to be great, and that one maybe isn't. Yeah. But are you surprised already by ones that you're like, wow, I did not think that? I mean, do you have to have talent? I mean, you have to have talent. I could never do that. Right, like I just have no ability to draw anything. I mean, I can see something and whether it's laid out or right, and I can tell people to move stuff around. Yeah. But honestly, you have to have talent, a certain level of that, right? Yeah. Or if you don't have talent, I think that, because I've seen both sides of the coin. It's like either you have a bunch of natural talent and you're able to, like incrementally sort of build on that to get better little by little. Yeah. Or maybe you don't have a bunch of natural talent, but you're willing to invest so much time that because you love it. You have an appreciation for it or whatever, and then you get really good at it. And either one can happen at any time. All right. Yeah. Who influenced you? Best designers that you're like, wow, they're really good. I know I'm putting you on the spot, and somebody's going to go like, thanks for not saying me, Sean. I mean, I think I've definitely like evolved my style over time. Like when I was first starting out, I was like all about like super clean, minimalist, like Massimo Vanelli, Helvetica everything sort of thing. And now I think I'm much more like, let's throw some texture in there. Let's really dirty it up, like really kind of make it a little more interesting, Yeah. So I think as I've like aged, because some people go the other way. Yes. A lot of people go the other way. Yeah. That's interesting that you went that way. Wouldn't you say the majority go the other way? Maybe not. Depends on the person. Wow. I mean, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Tell me about your crop of students. What are you excited about? What are you seeing? What surprised you? Yeah. Or you're like, wow. Without getting too specific, it's like, I'm not asking for names. Yeah. The folks that went through high school during COVID are very, very quiet and reserved compared to the students that did not. That were pre-COVID. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think that's an isolated thing. Like I think that's I don't think so either. A pretty proven thing nationally, but and I don't know if that'll like work itself out or what. But like they just don't talk. They're more hesitant to speak up. When they do speak up, they're really quiet, and they're just really reserved. Yeah. Well, so my daughter's at UW. She's a senior, and she went. First quarter on campus, and then everything shut down. Oh wow! So she got teased into what could have been a really cool college experience, and is basically not had any of that. Thankfully, she's an extrovert like me, and just will have no problem. I told her, I'm like, you will be a giant in anything you do in this world because, my opinion, compared to your generation of. Right, your colleagues, they are much quieter. Yeah. I mean, it is a really different, how you communicate is really, it's different, and we have people here from 23 to 45, or 40, 43 or whatever. It's just, so it's a real which I love. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what keeps me younger, and they make the world go round. So I need to learn stuff all the freaking time.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about that. What will happen to that sort of niche of people? And I wonder about the crew that comes after. Like, will they be as cool? Will it now be quiet time for a while? Or I don't know.
Well, what I've heard from other instructors is that every class that comes through the program has their own personality.
So that could,
and it's just
that.
a thing that gels with whatever group of people.
It's been going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely felt that when I was in school. It was like, we definitely had like our own kind of niche personality wise. So,
are you excited for the work you're seeing?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, it's been cool, especially with like the multimedia classes that I'm teaching, where I get to teach them about animation and other video stuff, because a lot of them haven't had any exposure to that stuff before, and it just kind of blows their mind.
So what do you use in terms of platforms?
Right now it's a lot of After Effects and Premiere, and kind of using those interchangeably. We do a little bit of stuff in Illustrator, just in terms of designing the parts and pieces that get put into that. A little bit of camera work, a little bit of work in like XD if we're getting into web stuff, and user interface things.
It's just such a cool world.
Yeah,
it's just so. I mean, and we make so many versions. Now for so many platforms. It's just crazy. We used to take we could take 2 or 3 people on a shoot. Today we had like 6 that were all. I mean, 2 of them were doing digital shorts, separate from the crew that was doing the digital ads, or NTV or whatever, shooting hamburger, not hot dog,
right,
horizontal versus vertical, and that whole world of those two, and then kind of behind the scenes stuff or social that we're doing, and it's just like, and I was like, oh, we brought too many people. Like we were, this was it was not a big shoot.
Yeah.
We didn't think, but everybody ended up busy.
Sure.
And I'm just like, wow, that's cool in terms of business and job and getting people stuff to do. But it's like I feel like it's just endless. There's just so much. You can almost drown in it a little bit if you don't kind of manage it right. But you need it. You need all of those different pieces for every little platform that they serve. Yeah. Are you dealing with that in terms of media and like, hey, you've got to design for this size, space? That's what we kind of always think about. It's like, I got to make sure that what we shoot now, which thankfully 12K cameras let us shoot wide because then we can zoom in, but we better have the ability to either have a separate camera that's just shooting the vertical stuff for digital shorts, and Instagram, TikTok, that world, YouTube Shorts, but we also better make sure that we've got everything handled, and we're thinking about all those different platforms. Are you guys thinking about that at this level yet, or?
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because like I've noticed that because of things like Instagram stories or TikTok or whatever, that there is actually a little bit more awareness about what is good.
Framing.
Not just like framing, but like actually like animated techniques because of all the stuff that you see on those platforms in terms of graphics. And
a ton of them are really graphics.
Totally.
We've had we've done now, which has been really actually successful, and who knows, tomorrow it'll change. How quickly stuff changes. But we will finish we'll do a 2 to 3 minute piece and then recut that.
Yeah.
From the phone, in a TikTok or Instagram Reels style, where the music of that will perform well from that platform. I'm trying to explain this to myself, the old man.
Here's the thing: the computer fits in the palm of your hand.
Right,
yay
it's
big.
Crazy. But you know what I'm talking about. Like that TikTok has a lot going on now. It isn't just somebody dancing around or whatever, some clip of something. But the text that is put on there, how it's laid out and what it looks like, the right font for that, so it performs well. The music that's with that will either that platform wants you to use. It gets all. And what we've discovered is, not to give away too many of our secrets here, but we literally have to do shorts from the phone. You have to create them on the fly there because the algorithms know that I've created this it looks too good.
Yes.
It looks too pro. It looks too complete and whatever. So we create the stuff that we do want for digital ads and do look pro, and then take that and sort of, I don't want to say dumb it down, but take it and repurpose that already existing thing, and then add graphics over it and add the sort of style of that platform to it. And it's worked great. Yeah. But it's like, whoa, that's such a different design.
Yeah.
The tool, these guys know too, and we've had a guy who was awesome campaign manager for us and managed all our digital stuff, and he was 28, 27, 28, and he's like, I don't get it, and Nick now, who's my son who managed our digital campaigns, he said the best line ever. He's 26. He goes, I'm the oldest of the young. And he literally has the DNA that understands shorts.
Yes.
And somebody 27 literally doesn't.
Yes.
Like, oh God, I don't dabble in those. I don't look at that stuff. I don't care. Yeah. To be work, isn't that weird? There's like a literal delineation.
Oh no, I get it.
A 1 year difference where someone's really good at shorts and loves it, embraces it, and somebody not.
I remember distinctly when TikTok was really first becoming a thing, like somebody I worked with was like, hey, if you check this out, and I went on there and I downloaded the app and I opened up my phone and I was like, nope, not for me. No, nope.
Right.
I was just like, I'm out.
No, I don't qualify.
Right.
It's not my people.
I was like, if I look at this too long, I'm gonna have a seizure. No.
Right. Nothing to do. Right. Totally, 100%. Yet we've done this podcast. Has pushed out stuff on shorts. Yeah. That we had a 15-second clip on this podcast that got 498,000 views. Wow, cool. In a week. Wow. On TikTok.
That's cool.
I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What? What in that made that get? Right. So that's TikTok, 500,000 views. Yeah. And then the same one on, Instagram Reels, 10,000, whatever, which is great. Yeah, sure. But they'll never be. It's remarkable how each of those platforms performs really differently. Yes. So, and that's sort of how we look at the whole sphere of all these platforms and all this ability is. You just be everywhere. Yeah. You have to be everywhere. Yep. And you have to, you have to create content for that medium to reach the people that you're trying to reach, and I love it. I mean, to me, it's just like kind of chess. It's fun, but it's different, man. It's not making one. We used to tell people at SDCU when we first started doing those ads 22 years ago. Believe it or not, it made 3 ads. Yeah, 3 30-second commercials for that year, and then now it's like 40. 50 pieces of content. Right. Literally. That just it's still 4 stories. Yeah. But it's so crazy.
Well, and especially when you have a brand like that where the whole point is to be everywhere, right? Like it's literally 100%. For everybody. So
yes, you have not? Right. You have which is not right. And then on the other side, being able to target. Was asked by Catherine McMorris's office and Maria Cantwell. There is legislation out there. When's the last time I want to ask you if you know anything about this? That is being put forth at the national level, federal level. Congress is looking at limiting digital ads. Oh yeah. Have you heard anything about this?
Vaguely. I don't know a ton about it.
And they asked me to come speak to their team, just like, hey, we're, the people lobbying against it saying, that's crazy. Why would you limit and not, make it not possible for people to do digital ads? Sure. Well, because, it's people under 17 shouldn't be experienced to that stuff. I'm like, well, they shouldn't be experienced to the platform. Like, let alone, what's the ad got to do with it? I'm like, wouldn't it be more important for you to curtail the certain kind of content that can go, period? Whether that's an ad or not. So I kind of gave them, they're like, oh, it's just, they're just at war against the big platforms. And I'm like, you don't realize how many small clients on a scale, local mom and pop, small businesses are really affected by digital ads right now. Yes. Because I don't know if that's the experience that you've had, but in the last 5 to 8 years, where 9 years ago this didn't exist at all, which just blows me away, that you could not, someone who was a small company could not advertise because they couldn't afford TV or radio or all that stuff. And all we did was make the big stuff for the big clients if you're going to survive. Yeah. And then it just shifted. It's like, wait a minute, I can afford to actually run digital ads because people will see them and I can target so specifically. I'm not wasting my money. And to take that away would be devastating to my business, your business, but really the businesses of the stories that we tell. Yeah. Have you had experience with that?
Yeah, and I can see like both sides of that coin, but yeah, I agree in terms of like it will affect small businesses more than it will affect anything else because the big businesses will always have other stuff to fall back on, so it doesn't even matter.
Right?
But
they'll always be able to.
Yeah, and that's the only market for the local businesses right now where it's like you can't just have a sign out in front of your business. Like,
you can't.
That's not.
That is your
anything.
sign.
Yeah, it is totally. Yeah, it's the only way to reach consumers if you're a mom and pop shop.
It would wreck a lot of businesses that are doing really well. And I gave them several examples of that. Plus, the nonprofit world does not have the dollars, often put away. Maybe they'll get grants and that kind of stuff. But you've done tons of that, and I've done tons of that. Yeah. But it's like, hey, it's really important that we as a community know that Second Harvest needs donations right now because the shelves are really low because the economy's bad and or whatever, or we're going through a pandemic, or if we, God forbid, we didn't have those platforms. They really saved this community during COVID. I mean, all that stuff. And so I kind of imparted some of that on these guys. They're like, oh, okay. I didn't really think, and you never know. And we got an email back. That was great. I'm like, was it? I don't know. Are these guys? You never get it's poker. Like, I don't know if these guys are hearing any of the stuff what we're saying, but I understand that. It's important that, kids don't get fed the wrong stuff. Sure. But to just blanket say, no one under 17 can get a digital ad served to them. Are you kidding? Like, we're doing a project right now where we want FAFSA, scores to go up because Washington State is the lowest in the country. Really? And filling out the FAFSA for financial aid for college. Wow. Which affects everything in a community, right? And it's like, is that okay to serve to a 17-year-old? Should they not see that? Of course they should. But if you're just going to blanket that stuff, so it's a really different. There is a need. Yeah. If you think about that, the need to wrangle these platforms too. Yep. But as a designer, do you get worried that you get put in a box, or is it right?
I think that there will always be a place for that stuff. I think it's always going to fluctuate. Every once in a while there'll be this mass exodus from Facebook, for instance. You know what I mean? And it'll go in waves. And I think that's just natural. And I think that, it's good to have pushback on certain platforms once they get too powerful, right? Balance of power and all that. So I think that, I'm hopeful at least that it'll all kind of work itself out.
Well, that's what I always just bet on. No matter what platform it is, it doesn't matter. The stories are where we're at, and people got to get them. You know, and they got to get good design. It's still going to always be in that place. I remember when Facebook did get kind of beat up in the press, and Zuckerberg's getting railed in Congress and all this stuff. I was like, oh, Facebook is dying and all this stuff. And I was like, no, we look at analytics every day. I'm like, no, it isn't. It didn't get hurt at all. Are you kidding? That's the gorilla, man. It didn't. I'm like, we didn't see any. Literally didn't see any drop from effectiveness on the analytics side, which is kind of crazy. Cool. All right. Well, anything else that you're excited about next? You got another movie? Or are you gonna wait till this one's?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of take the rest of the year off. I think I've been working on a bunch of new screenwriting projects, so I'm gonna be trying to figure out what I want to do with those next. But they're still in process. But yeah, I'm just gonna try to promote this one as much as I can. I've got it entered in 11 other film fests, so we'll see what happens with that. And then, but yeah, it's gonna be airing. Let's see, that's February 3rd at the Bing.
Okay.
So if you want to come check it out, I think you can just buy tickets on the Bing's website.
And that's the Spiff, right? Yeah. So tell me about that. Have you been involved with that? And that's the Spokane Film Festival, right?
Yeah. I have never been involved with the organization. I've always submitted stuff to it, so I don't know a lot about the organization. But it's a really cool festival to attend, and we always have really good attendance. And you can buy a pass, which is for everything. Yeah. The whole full weekend plus.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And you get some really cool films that come in.
Yeah, really, really amazing international level films, obviously, and yeah, it's cool. And the venues are kind of scattered throughout town, and yeah, it's a really, really good time.
So that'll be your first chance to see this on the big screen, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a cool experience.
Yeah,
It's a little different.
Yeah,
but there'll be a crowd too, right?
Yeah,
so you get to watch with an audience. All right, you're gonna get this experience.
Yeah,
that's awesome. It is a really. It is worth doing just to have something like that, you know.
Totally.
That's real. Yeah, we were honored. The basket they brought it back like 3 or 4 years ago, 2 years ago,
Nice.
I don't know, and then had us come up and speak about it. You know,
Oh, cool.
It was a feature movie, and so
that
was really cool to see it after so many years.
Yeah.
On the screen, and like, wow, it kind of holds up. You know, it still looks good. And you know, I had a cameo of my dad who was living at the time. I'm like, oh, it's my dad. I get to see, you know, things like that. That's just
cool.
It's a cool experience.
Yep.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet.
MIP Podcast was filmed at the studio of Corner Booth Media. Please sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere podcasts can be found.
We'd love it if you'd rate, review, and subscribe to help our podcast grow. Be good to yourself and stay interesting.